How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to TheBlueShifting, and welcome back to Higurashi When They Cry, Chapter 5. Miyakashi, I think. Miyakashi. Yeah. So, we're jumping in. We're going strong here. Shion's broken out of her kind of like, private girls' school. She's kind of setting herself up. But it's kind of crazy to think, like, she's still a very prominent member of the Sonozaki family, right? And yet she's having to be very, very careful. But it's because I think the Sonozakis are just so dangerous. Like, even Shion recognizes that, like, there's a legitimate threat here. Now, is she likely ever going to consider that it could become overt to the point where she might be, like, have her life ended? No. I imagine that the real danger is that she'll be spirited away back to the school or to an even, like further place. Like, imagine if Shion were then, if they're like, okay, like, she's obviously going to cause trouble. What if we send her to a boarding school overseas? Like, then she has no real access to anything. She's just going to the school. That could be the problem. And, like, in some ways, going to that school could be considered like a boon. Again, there's a lot of benefit of her going somewhere like that. Like, being able to rub shoulders with other elites and their children and their families could be very, very good for your future, which is, I'm genuinely convinced is the reason why they were like, oh yeah, let's enter that school. It's like, you could say, oh, it's for the education. I'm sure that's fine, but it's really about, like, the rubbing shoulders and having contacts and connections and everything. But she's out, she's doing her own thing, but when she gets back, she's hearing about the curse. She knows about the damn sight death, and she knows about the fall, but now she's learning about the Furude Shrine deaths, and so she's like, okay, this is getting a little weird. And I think we're close to the end of this chapter. I don't know how close, just, kind of time limited. And again, today's also going to be a time limited thing. I've got a lot going on that's changing right now, so it's like good changes, but like it's also really, really like emotionally taxing and taxing on my time. So like, I'm probably going to be focused more on like how long can I record rather than how good of an ending spot can I get to. So I apologize for that in advance, just because normally I come into this looking primarily to like fit within a time of recording, but like to get a good stopping point. But there might be a point where I just have to stop, even if it's not the best. So I hope it won't be too bad. But luckily we're early enough in the story that we probably won't have too much of a problem, because this is more about the setup. This is about the characters. This is about getting everyone in the right places. And I still feel like we have a lot to do. Like we still need to meet, oh gosh. Not, like, it's Hyojo is like the last name. Satoshi, that's right. We need to meet Satoshi. So like at some point he's going to come into the picture, and I'm curious how soon that's going to be. I think it's going to be pretty quick, because I think they're going to build that relationship, like the friendship / more between Shion and Satoshi. So I think we're going to see that happen, and that's what's going to make it really sad when he just up and vanishes randomly. I'm curious too. I want to see, like, because I described how he like would get like really paranoid and like carried a bat around everywhere. Like, I wonder why. Like, we now know she was more involved with him and was closer to him. So, like, what does she think of that whole thing? Like, what does she think went down, or why? Was he open with her, or was he not? Oh, it's good. The more I've been thinking about what this chapter's going to reveal, the more curious I'm getting. So I'm very excited. Anyway, let's go. So.
ばあさんはどんな感じだった？バッチャはカンカンでさ。
Ah, Grandma.
もしも沖宮界隈に帰ってきてるなら、即刻見つけ次第自分の前に引っ立てろってさ。怖っ。で、実際に親父とかの動向は？近々の親族会議でシオンをかくまってないか問いただすみたいだね。
Oh my gosh, that's kind of terrifying if you think about it. Because, yeah, maybe something directly to Shion might not happen, but she could get somebody else really in trouble.
でも、若いのに町中を探させるとか、そういう真似はしないみたいだよ。
Holding a family council means things will remain in the hag's hands alone. She won't search the town for me? It's likely she's unofficially approving my presence. Of course, she'll get caught immediately if they find me in a large public area. I'll get caught immediately if they find me in a large public area.
母さんが随分暗躍してくれたみたいだね。
I can tell she's being supportive. It's a long story, but my mom is sort of an outlaw, even though she's of the Sonozaki bloodline. A long time ago, she had a huge fight with the hag because she hated the family rules and traditions. She was even excommunicated. Wait, you can get excommunicated from the family, or is it from like the religious Furude shrine stuff? But that's crazy. I that's an interesting word to use. I wonder, like, if that, like why that was a word that was chosen, because typically that is a removal from a religious sect. But maybe this, like, the family and religion aspects are so heavily tied that it's essentially the same thing as being banished. My mom was supposed to be a successor, but she was deprived of the title and Sis took her place instead. While she's quiet now, Mom's still an outlaw. She's always been on my side because I also hate rules and traditions.
親父、最初はすっごくカンカンだったらしいよ。母さんがだいぶなだめたらしい。何のかんの言っても、親父は最後には母さんには勝てないからね。
I love this language too. Because we know how Mion, like, loves games and she loves, like, the win versus lose, right? Win at all costs, do whatever it takes. Wonder if they got that from their mom. Because, like, she's even talking about, like, the dynamic of husband and wife as a game.
OK、ありがとう。また何かあったら教えてね。本当にやばくなったら、私もこの町を離れるつもりだから。葛西とか吉郎おじさんとか、それに母さんとか、世話に。おねえ、あんたが今何を考えてるか、どうして同じ血を分けた姉妹なのに、シオンだけこんな隠れるように生活しなきゃならないのか、でしょ
？Yeah, was silent. That meant yes.
シオンだけ、こんな窮屈な思いをするのは、フェアじゃないよ。
That's fair. But there's an argument that you could make saying that Shion is free to make her own choices. And sometimes those choices have consequences.
絶対。ありがとう。気持ちだけでも嬉しいです。表に出たい時とか、あったら相談して。シオンがいつでもミオンになれるよう協力するからさ。
She sounded apologetic. I shouldn't go quiet or agree with her. She sticks to things a little too much. Once she goes down, they'll stay there for a while. So I just told her simply. ありがとう。実はそれが一番ありがたいです。じゃあ切りますね。じゃあね。またね。They really care for each other. Like, they really, really do. I think it's cool that they're establishing that, because you almost might get the impression from the other chapters that they don't. I think they butt heads, but they're siblings. Wow, I was that close to the end of the last time. That must have been annoying for you all. Okay, we'll read the tip and we'll launch into the next one. So that was the end of that chapter. New tip. Okay, a Smudged Diary. Ooh. Oh, this looks like like Satoshi and this looks like the Sojo house, right? Like, rough, huh? Satoko is crying while hiding behind my back. Yeah, this is Satoshi. She's been crying while clinging onto me, so my back was wet with her tears and snot. My aunt had been screaming hysterically, but she looked tired now. I suddenly realized that it was already past 1 in the morning. She vomited out a series of screams one last time, then finally called it quits. Satoko seemed exhausted. She was looking down in a state of shock. Even after my aunt walked away, she didn't realize she'd been freed. So I stroked her head and told her, 終わったよ. Satoko. Oh, that's his voice. Satoko twitched. Her eyes grew bright again, and tears rolled down her cheeks. She looked up at my face. She knew it was over, but wanted to hear it directly from me. She begged me with a look. To be honest, I was really exhausted too. So I felt a bit annoyed when she tried to make me say it, but I needed to pacify her. So I gently told her what she wanted to hear. もう、おばさんの小言は終わったよ。だから、ね。God, man, why do we have to get thrown back into this nightmare? ねよ。Satoko clung to me while her tears continued to fall. Like, it makes sense. Like, it absolutely makes sense. I'm not I'm mostly griping because this place sucks. Like, this place is dark. It makes me very sad. She was crying again silently. Satoko was shivering pitifully. Her small back reminded me that there's nobody else who could to protect her. さあ、歯を磨いて、それから布団を敷こう。そしてぐっすり休もう。Satoko smiled faintly and nodded. I felt dizzy. As I was released from the strain, a harsh drowsiness fell upon me. While Satoko washed her face, I went to the toilet. I zoned out while we were watching my pee. In my dizziness, I almost missed the shot. Felt like I was being sucked into the toilet. I couldn't even remember what caused it. What did my aunt start screaming today? Dang. Yeah. Ooh, it's rough, dude. It's rough. A very quiet afternoon as always. Since I can't go outside as myself, I have to match schedules with Mion when I go shopping. I've gotten used to it by now, so it's no longer a hassle. Because of this, I naturally have to buy things in bulk. Today, I shuttled between shops and my home.
あれは買った、これも買った。ああ、そうだ。今日って100円セールの日じゃなかったっけ？
Oh my gosh!
忘れてた。
Being in a good mood, I spun around with my arms spread out. It felt like a little whirlwind. My arms hit a motorcycle parked at the sidewalk. It obviously wasn't where it was supposed to be. Oh, I wonder if this is going to be a similar situation to what happened with in chapter 2 with Keiichi.
もう
Although he like kicked the bike.
何こんなとこに止めてるの？誰？
Oh my gosh. Well, here we go. I gave it a kick with no hesitation. There were 3 motorcycles lined up in a row. They all fell like dominoes. It was a beautiful sight. This is so fun, I thought. Being in such a good mood made me leave my guard down. I didn't realize the owners of the motorcycles were right nearby. They looked pretty scary. It's the same situation. They grabbed me by the neck and dragged me into the dark alley. Then they called me all kinds of names. Everything was happening too quickly for me to grasp what was going on. Whoa. They can't really talk properly. I didn't have a clue what they were saying. I had to translate their alien tongue into normal human words in order to understand. We are very upset because you knocked down our motorcycles. You should immediately pay for the repair and compensation. Yeah, that was probably it. That's our offer. What do you say? We'd be happy to listen to your opinion. Something like that.
ああ、ごめんなさい。さすがにそろそろ翻訳不能かも。
She's very chill about this. I know what they were trying to say. Well, somebody has to warn them about the way they park their motorcycles. It wouldn't be fair to those who obey the rules if there were no punishment for those who disobey them. This is an accident, but it must also be God's will. You kicked the bikes! But, God, can you use me to punish these guys? But how will you compensate me later? I heaved a huge sigh. Of course, I wasn't afraid in this situation at all, because it wasn't a dangerous one for me. These 3 guys were yelling at the top of their lungs to a girl. They didn't look good doing it, and they had too many disadvantages. First, there was the difference in gender and the different number of people. Even if I did something wrong, as men shouted at a woman, it didn't make them look like they were in the right. Added to that, there were 3 of them. It already looked like it was going to get violent. Second, the location. Taking a girl to a dark, narrow alleyway is already a bad idea. On top of that, they were asking for money, not just an apology. Thanks to these facts, the public will be on my side. So this was a fight they couldn't possibly win. Yeah, but the trouble is, like, what if they do something irreparable, permanent, or really, like, dangerous before any of the public get to know what's going on? Like, you're still in an imminent dangerous situation unless you already know exactly that you've been observed and that people are coming to your aid. The only way for them to win would be to take money before somebody finds out. Considering that, taking me to this narrow, secluded alleyway might have been the smart move, since fewer people will find out about the situation. I knew how slim their chances of winning were. From their very beginning, they'd picked the wrong girl. I'm Mion Sonozaki now. I'd be foolish to mug her in Okonomiya. Soon enough, the people of Hinamizawa would notice me and gather around. They didn't spare mercy for their enemies, no matter what. The punks didn't know this area well. If they did, they'd know how silly it was to rob Mion. Plus, the alleyway isn't all as empty as they assumed. The side street is a shortcut which local people frequently use on the way home. In the late afternoon, many people would be passing through here. The time had almost arrived. If I held off a little longer, the streets would soon be filled with people. Then the punks would have to go away. I didn't have to do anything. I just had to wait in order to win. This was a simpler fight like that. While they could hurl abusive language at me or lift me up by my collar, they weren't actually going to resort to violence. Cheers to the educational system for integrating the ladies first mindset. I mean, that's kind of fair. I don't know if that's necessarily the educational system, is it? Maybe in Japan he's trying to argue that in like the writing. Like I'm thinking for the writer. Because I feel like I didn't learn that from school. I learned it culturally. Like both from like home, like what my parents would tell me growing up, and just like watching TV. Or, you know, like having conversation. I would argue that's more of a cultural thing. I think it's a fine cultural thing. It's interesting though. I wonder if, because pushing for more equality is definitely a thing that's happening more and more, like genuine equality between genders and gender roles. So I wonder if this ladies first mentality is actually going to start to fade. Some would say that's a good thing. Some would say it's a bad thing. I'm not sure either way. I think there should be a level of respect, but I also think that respect should be like gender regardless. Like, I don't know. I'm weird like that. I kind of by default I attribute a level of just like general respect and like consideration for basically everybody. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out, and I'm totally getting distracted from this, but I'm talking about this idea of like it's odd to kind of make this to make a reference in this way. In my opinion, this is an interesting take on it. This idea that the schools are teaching people ladies first. I mean, I imagine that it comes up at school, but again, like I said, that's more of a culture thing, I think. But as a wicked person, I wanted to toy with them a bit, even though I could win this by waiting. I wanted to paint them as even more villainous, drive them into a corner that would be even harder to talk their way out of. That demonic desire was rearing its horns. To put it plainly, I'd only need to act as the poor, helpless victim a little further. Like the pathetic, pitiful, tragic heroine everyone wants to sympathize with. In a case like this, I shouldn't start crying immediately because they'd get nervous and draw back. She's like tactically choosing when to cry. That's insane. If it were a truly threatening situation, that would work, but I needed something different here. I'd pretend to be strong at first. In fact, I thought, why don't I challenge them? And eventually, I'd start trembling, my voice would fade and get tears in my eyes. It'd be even better if I played the role of a strong girl who's slowly giving in to fear. Mion and I are probably the only ones who are capable of pulling that kind of stunt off. Well, I'm probably better than her.
そんなにしつこく言わなくてもいいでしょ。悪かったって言ってるじゃないですか。
I talked back with a little hesitation. Am I getting tears yet? Yes! She's like, yes! By the way, I've heard men can't shed tears on command. Wait. Are you implying you actually can do that? I'm pretty sure like some actors can for sure, but like I thought that was like a super exclusive thing. Is that not like is it literally a guy-girl thing? Can girls actually cry on command? That's insane. I felt sorry for them. The three punks faltered a bit due to my sudden change in attitude, but they soon started yelling at me again. I had to keep it going. The way they blatantly looked like they were picking on a helpless girl.
もう許してください。
That last part doesn't sound real.
なんだよこら。さっきまでの伊勢はどこ行ったんだよ、にゃろ。
そんなのだって。
そんな。今頃泣くくれなら調子くれてんじゃねえんだよ、たくよ。
He started talking so quiet. That line was delivered so quiet. Why was that such a volume difference? It looked like they were laying off a bit. Did I overdo it a little? Well, it'd be a bit boring if they let me go now. Well, at that moment. Hey, there he is. There's our boy. That's kind of funny. I mean, I'm sure it's intentional. He really does look a lot like Keiichi. Like it's almost like they're the same character, like sprite, besides the hair color. That's interesting. But obviously it makes sense. She's got similar eyes and hair to Satoko. Hey, Satoshi. How you doing, buddy?
もう泣いているじゃないか。やめてやれ。
A boy around my age appeared. He was skinny, He looked weak. He looked younger than he probably was. He also looked smart. He bravely glared at the punks.
Nanda? Na kono ero!
The punks turned away from me to face the boy instead. The boy looked a bit agitated when the punks started yelling at him. They sure were ruthless. But the boy must have known from the beginning. He must have known that he was going into a dangerous situation, and yet he didn't hesitate. Fuki. The Fuki. What a slang way. I like that expression on his face, by the way. That's why I'm like, you got this, bro. She's in no actual danger, but you got this, bro. He must have wanted to shout back at them, but he'd probably never used that kind of language in his life. Though he couldn't have expressed his feelings out loud. He might not have even known what to say. So he just kept on glaring at them, to let them know he wasn't going anywhere. The three punks, though, might have thought he was just at a loss for words in his fear. But I knew different. The boy was overpowering them with nothing but his will. The punks were losing, so they resorted to violence. They grabbed him and knocked him down. They hit, kicked, and tossed him around. It looked painful, but I knew. It was his victory. In the end, local passers-by stopped the punks. They made no further fuss and just went away. The boy stood up. He was covered in dust. He smiled. He smiled when our eyes met, and asked if I was all right. He didn't look particularly okay himself, though.
あんたもよくもまあ勝てない喧嘩を買う人ですね。次からは勝てる算段がついてから喧嘩を買うことを深くお勧めしますけどね。最初は迷ったよ。
He laughed, saying that he was watching from the beginning. That meant he had the option to walk away, but instead he worked up the courage and stepped in.
そういうのは勇気って言わず、身の程知らずとも言うかな。
Okay, here's the thing though, and here's a question that I've actually kind of wondered myself. So, is Shion going to introduce herself as Shion here? That poses a lot of problems. For instance, I'm pretty sure Satoshi at this time is going to school with Mion, right? So is he recognized that this isn't Mion, or is he falling for the trap immediately and assuming this is Mion? If he is, isn't that going to fall apart really quickly when she doesn't acknowledge who he is? That's a bit of an oversight. I feel like they should have covered. I wonder how that's going to play out here. Or is he going to be one of the few people who actually knows who Shion is and has the difference? And maybe he's told like, hey, don't tell anybody. Don't even tell Mion you saw me, because that's not supposed to happen.
Mion は口が減らないね。
Answer immediately given.
助けてくれてありがとうくらい言ってくれよ。泣いてたじゃないか。別に泣いてなんかいません。
Now, interesting. Do you hear that? It sounded like she's talking more like Mion now. That sounded, because like Shion's response to that would have been more like, oh, are you sure? You know, like kind of teasing. But now she's sounding like the Mion we know, right?
そういうのは勇気って言わず、万有って言います。あれはちょっとした演技で。
Yeah. See, that sounds more like Mion right there.
いいよ、演技でも。ちょっと信じてないでしょ。
Yeah, that just sounds like Mion. That's so cool.
私が本当に泣き出すと思いますか？思わないよ。天下御免の園崎ミオンが不良にいじめられて泣き出したなんて誰も思わないよ。何を笑ってるんですか？全然信じてないでしょ。私が半泣きなんてするわけない。信じるから。
I like him. He's cool. I realized one thing. He must be one of Sis's friends. He didn't seem to realize I'm her twin. He thought I was Mion from a different hairstyle, with a different hairstyle. Mion and I lived separately since before I went to elementary school. Mion was in Hinamizawa, and I was in Okonomiya. I lived a totally different environment from her, so it's not strange that people don't know me. Actually, only very few people know I exist. I almost told him that I'm not Mion, but managed to stop myself. Shion shouldn't be here. He's from Hinamizawa. It wouldn't be good if he thought I saw Mion look-alike on Okonomiya, so I had to act like Mion. Dealing with him could be more difficult than handling those punks.
でもま、ミオンにも少しは女の子らしいところがあったんで安心したよ。
oh gosh.
なんだか 妙に引っかかる言い方ですけど、つまりはどういう意味です？
Yeah, oh, that's so fun.
ミオンのことだから、なんだか珍妙な憲法でも使って、瞬く間に撃退してしまうんじゃないかって期待してたね。だから、泣き出した時は、正直、驚いた。
Uh-huh.
だからあれは泣き真似だったって言ってるじゃないですか。さっきから人の話ちゃんと聞いて。
He gently put his hand on top of my head and stroked it as if stroking a kitten. I could remember somebody doing that to me when I was little, but it had been quite a while since somebody stroked my head. I didn't know what to do. Why did it make me so embarrassed? My face reddened all at once. I couldn't say anything.
バカにしてます。
Dang, genuinely stun locked. Oh my gosh, this boy's got her.
ひょっとして。
I stuttered in embarrassment. He looked calm as if he was used to doing this.
なんでもいいよ。よかったじゃないか。
Glad of what, though? God, he looks so happy here. We know such terrible things are coming for him, though.
よかったって何がです？
無事で。
He smiled when I kept stroking my head. His smile looked fine. He wasn't going to stay for long. He'd already saved me from those guys after all.
じゃあ、僕は行かなきゃならないから、そろそろ行くね。
I wanted to go through all the steps of meeting somebody for the first time, but he didn't. As far as he was concerned, he'd just saved a friend from danger and wanted to leave quickly to avoid seeming pretentious. He and Mion must be friends who knew each other well. So I couldn't bring myself to ask, "What's your name?" Mion's friend smiled once again. His smile looked as refreshing as a clear blue sky. This time, he smiled a bit mischievously.
安心しなよ。ミオンが泣いてたなんて誰にも言わないから。もっとも言ったところで誰も信じないだろうけどね。天下無双の委員長が泣いてたなんて絶対誰も信じない。
Dang. Oh my gosh. It's like his voice is very, very, very different. It is cool. Like they found somebody, or the voice actor is just choosing to do him very softly. Like he's got like a good air about him. Like it's interesting that you can tell that just from a voice. But that's also why even when I'm like watching anime, I tend to do like the Japanese voices with like the subtitles, purely because I like hearing as close to like the intended feeling from the words, because even though I can't speak the language, I can feel a lot from the words. And I like his feel. Like the atmosphere that they gave the character for Satoshi is very, I don't know, just chill. Like somebody you could see like the world falling down around, and somehow he'd still give you comfort. Be like, you know, it's gonna be all right. We're gonna figure this out. Like he's the kind of person who you could sit down and like imagine listening to, and you know, all your fears just kind of melting away a little bit. He patted the dust off his butt once again. I notice you're looking at his butt, Shion. I almost called her Mion because in my head she's been talking like her. He walked back to the sunny main road and away from the dark alley. Then he turned around.
じゃあまた明日学校でね。
学校で。
He disappeared into the brightly lit street. I continued to sit in the gloomy alleyway. I could no longer see him. I was just staring absent-mindedly at the bright light. It was the first time I met Satoshi-kun. Dang. You are smitten. I'm not allowed to walk freely under the sun. I met a boy on a sunny day. How come a perverse girl like me fell in love with his innocence? Notebook, page 5. Why did you call yourself a perverse girl? That's an interesting word, especially for yourself.
そりゃサトシだよ、サトシ。その特徴的な雰囲気と気安く頭を撫でる癖は間違いないね。
Interesting. In the future, we know that Keiichi tends to give head pats, specifically Satoko and Rika. But Satoshi seems to give head pats to everybody.
サトシくんって言うんだ。
The boy from earlier is called Satoshi Hyojo-kun. Mion said that he's always daydreaming. Oh, he does sound like me. So she doesn't believe that he saved me at first.
普段はしっかり者の妹にいろいろと尻を叩かれてるな。
I already know what that is, though. That's to excuse away the bruising. You go to school and people ask him, because remember, he's always the one taking the brunt of the physical abuse. So he shows up at school and occasionally he's got bruises, right? They ask him, and then he jokes and says, "Oh, you know, like Satoko got mad at me and like she kicked me or whatever." Like, so that's the story, when it's absolutely not the truth.
妹がいるんだ。うん。妹はサトコって言ってね。なかなか面白いやつだよ。なかなか悪知恵が働くしね。そのくせ追い詰められると泣くし。見てて退屈しない子だね。まあ、最近はいろいろとあってね。
Right. It's like the abuse got really bad after, like, because like I don't think they were getting abused at all when their parents were alive.
ちょっと調子を落としてるけど。
His sister came up naturally in the conversation. I tried to soak up every scrap of information about Satoshi-kun. Ooh, she's gone bad. Why? Why am I trying to ask so much about him? As I asked myself that, I felt the feeling I got when he stroked my head came back to me. I must have been blushing.
もしもし、シオン？え？ああ、ごめん。聞いてる。そもそもね、サトコがおばと折り合いが悪いらしいんだよね。サトシは大人だから、その辺はうまく立ち回ってるんだけどさ、サトコは嫌なことがあると素直に表情に出しちゃうからね。
What Sis told me was very interesting. She told me that the parents of Satoshi-kun and his little sister are dead. Satoshi-kun and Satoko are now living with their aunt and uncle and aunt. They don't seem like very respectable people. They're always fighting, and uncle's cheating on the aunt. He mostly lives with his mistress. Satoshi-kun and Satoko entered into that unwelcome environment. What surprised me the most is the fact that Satoshi-kun's parents were the Hojo couple who were the leaders of the pro-dam activists. That fact must have added something to the situation. I didn't know what kind of stance the uncle and aunt took from the dam conflict, but they must have taken some indirect blows. Satoshi-kun's parents died after bothering them so much, and even left them their children. The uncle and aunt obviously can't love those kids. Though things have gotten worse this past year too. Women can be real nasty bullies. Sometimes it doesn't matter who they're bullying, even if it's a kid. On top of that, women tend to care less about propriety than men. As a result, Satoko seems exhausted with it all. I can imagine Satoshi-kun bravely protecting his little sister. Okay. I was hearing that banging, and I was like, what is that? And it's probably the music. Just like when he saved me.
なら、サトシ君も普段は疲れてるってことになるのかな。え？サトコがおばにいじめられるたびに、きっとサトシ君は妹をかばってると思う。妹が疲れるのと同じくらい、サトシ君も疲れてると思うのは。どうだろうね。
Had I said something wrong? Mion sounded a bit taken aback. So that meant Mion can't tell how he's feeling. Because he's always wearing that blank look. So she never considered it. How could she be that insensitive even though she's around him all the time? I was amazed to realize that...
まあそんな話はいいや。で、彼は普段はどんなことをしてるの？文系みたいだから読書とか好きなわけ？
If he's like Keiichi, she'd be like, no.
想像に漏れずに普段は読書して過ごしてるよ。
Nice.
最近読んでる本はね、なんて言ったかな。
Is Mion picking up on what's going on here? I continued asking about him, about what he likes, dislikes, what he thinks about. I asked this all these questions because I wanted to know more about him. It was the first time I'd ever been that interested in somebody. I didn't want to admit I had feelings like that. Did I fall in love just because of a stroke of the head? Am I stupid or what? When I remember the feeling of his hand on my head, my heart feels tingly. I mean, he also, he came to save you. You weren't in any real danger, clearly, or at least you feel like you were in control. Whether you were truly in control or not, I guess technically debatable. I think she kind of was. But anyway, he showed up. He stepped up when he didn't need to. And he took a beating for you, basically. And did all that with a big smile on his face. I'd be impressed if someone did that for me. It'd probably touch my heart, too. And then he pats you on the head. And especially when you're she's young, but she's in her teenage transitioning to adulthood years, but she was living at an all-girls school. She hasn't spent a lot of time around boys, especially when she's been in this like phase of her life. And so like he's probably the first guy that's paid like any attention to her, and just it's probably something she's never thought about, but now like it has a lot more impact, especially with the added bonus of like he's very pleasant. He genuinely tried to save her, whether she needed it or not. He like the intent was there, and he was just a kind individual. Like, yeah, I totally get why she'd be enamored with him, especially at first glance. Now, like, you know, whether that turns into something real, we would have to see, obviously. But I mean, it's a great start. I tried doing it myself, but it didn't feel the same. Yeah, no, that's typically how that goes. It's not quite something you could just self-medicate with. I'm stupid. What am I doing stroking my own head?
おねえ、私もうダメだ。バカになっちゃった。え？何を突然、気色悪い声で笑い出して。おねえにはわかるまい、この。
She's like, I'm losing my mind. When would I see him again? Felt as if my suffocating life had finally grown brighter. Dang. It kind of sucks too, because like now we like this is so much worse because we know exactly how this ends. And like when you do a story right, knowing the ending can make like even though you're marching toward an inevitability, a doom, it's like part of knowing that it's coming is adding like a lot of tension. Because you're like, oh, that's really kind of cute and interesting, and like, you're like, it's not gonna be good. The life I lived really was beginning to suffocate me. I couldn't go out freely, and I always had to make arrangements with Mion before going to work. Yeah, she's traded one prison for another one. I thought my life would improve after escaping from the school, but in reality, it wasn't that easy. It's not healthy to live like this for too long. Without any friends to hang out with, I felt like I was hibernating. I had started to feel the dangers of falling into boredom. All I could think now was of Satoshi Hojo-kun's face. It only meant him briefly, but my encounter with him had had a great impact on my new life. It felt like something exciting was going to happen. Really, I was hyped up for like a little kid. The more I thought about it, I realized I'd been thinking about him a lot lately. Shock horror. This might be a crush. Felt a little ridiculous idolizing him in such a romantic way, though. Then, out of the blue, I got a chance to see him again.
あれ?
I saw a familiar face at twilight in the park. He was sitting on the swing. He looked like he was zoning out, maybe deep in thought. He didn't notice me, even though I was right in front of him. I reminded myself to speak and act like Mion before talking to him.
Hey! 何やってんのこんなとこでさ。
This is very Mion way. And it's interesting too, because like this almost feels like it is supposed to be a kind of parallel to like the interactions we had in chapter 2 with Mion, like Shion, where they were probably trading places. And like I still wonder, like, if I play that chapter again, would I be able to tell when they were supposed to be Mion or Shion? Was it written in a way where you're supposed to be able to tell at all?
Mion ka.
Hey, buddy.
びっくりしたな。
そんなに驚いてるようには見えないけどね。さっきからいたんだけど、ずっと気づかなかった？
そうなのかい？ごめん、気づかなかったよ。
I'm guessing this is one of those things where in his head, he's having a I'm a coward moment because he's probably here, not home. Knowing it, that probably means that Satoko's having like a harder time, but because he's just exhausted, like always being the one taking the beating, both verbally and physically, like there's a part of him that probably just needs to escape, even if he hates himself for it because he knows what it does for Satoko. But man, I guarantee you that's why he's here. He smiled self-derisively and shrugged. He looked depressed, like something was troubling him.
何か悩み事でも？聞いて楽になるものなら聞くし、力になれるものなら惜しまないけど。
いや、別に。
私はサトシ君には一個借りがあるからね。それとも何？おじさんじゃ力になれないと思ってるわけ？
This old man.
見くびられたもんだな。
別に、ミオンの力を借りたら意味がないことだからさ。
I have that. I feel that. That's that urge. And again, this might be a cultural thing. It also just might be just an individual thing of like, for some reason, I'm the kind of person like Satoshi who, seeing somebody in trouble, I want to help. I want to be there. I want to be able to support and kind of make things better and do whatever I can to make it all right. But when it comes to my own problems, I tend to not want to talk about them. I feel like I should be strong enough. I should be good enough to be able to just take care of things on my own. And if I were to ask for help, it would be a reflection of my inadequacies rather than like, you know, the very normal, realistic thing to be like, you're not perfect and you need help. But he's in a really dire situation where he really needs help. Like, he really should be able to ask for help. And it's sad that he feels like he can't. Because he can. But then it kind of comes down to the same problem with chapter 3 with like Keiichi and his friends wanted to help Sadako, but like there's only so much they could do, right? God, such a crappy situation.
ほう、それは何？つまり、私ごとき女の手は借りたくないってこと？
Thinking him unfair, I puffed out my cheeks in a sulky gesture. Satoshi-kun noticed that and smiled.
違うんだよ、ミオン。僕に実力がなくて、ここ一番で打てなかったってだけのことなんだよ。
Right, he was on the baseball team. I mentally riffled through all the information about Satoshi-kun that Sis had given me. He doesn't look like much of an athlete, but apparently Satoshi-kun belongs to the junior baseball team. They're called the Hinamizawa Fighters. I doubt he's very skilled since I didn't hear much about his contributions to the team. Maybe that's why he doesn't tell many people that he's a member. Given how down he felt about as a result of messing up, though, he must be fairly dedicated. I deduced all this from what Sis told me, and carefully chose my words so as to sound like her.
なんだ、そんなことで落ち込んでるわけ？
そんなことでって。
It's like, that's right. That's where I'm hurting.
簡単に言ってくれるな、ミオンは。
I patted his back while chuckling. Satoshi-kun would probably call me insensitive. I knew I should listen to him rather than try to cheer him up. Acting like Sis was probably the wrong thing to do in this case, but I had no choice. This is just how she'd react in this situation.
それなら落ち込むんじゃなくて、なお一層練習に打ち込んで次のチャンスを目指すのが適当ってもんでしょうが。こういう時は練習しかないよ、練習。まあ、サトシ君に相手のピッチャーに小細工をしてまで勝ちたいという執念があるなら、おじさんいろいろと協力できるかもしれませんけどね。
ずるしても何の意味もないよ。
Agreed.
はあ。
Satoshi-kun hung his head after letting his regrets out with a big sigh. Wait a minute. Ha. That ha was very similar to the like if you like I'm gonna play it again, but listen to it. It's a sigh, but the intonation is almost the same in a like muted form to Rena's how, yeah, like her cute like cue noise. Like the volume.
何の意味もないよ。
Listen. Yeah. Like it's very similar in that weird way. It's like the weird things you notice, man. Surrender, defeat, resignation. They're all visible in that gesture of his.
諦めがいいのか未練たらたらなのか。やっぱり男に生まれたからには一度くらいは晴れ舞台でスターになってみたいでしょう。
Satoshi-kun grinned as he said yes.
もちろんヒーローを目指すのが花だ。それが目的で野球をやってるわけじゃないよ。純粋にボールを投げたり打ったりするのが楽しいからやってるんだよ。
So he just likes the ability to play.
ミオンでもそういうのわかるよね。
おじさんはそういうのはあんまわかんないかな。私は結果が一番であるならどんな種目でも大好きだし、一番になれないのに大好きなんてものはあんまりよくわかんないね。
It is such a Mion take.
ミオンらしい答えだな。
Having realized that I'm trying to make him feel better, he laughed along. He didn't look depressed anymore. I guess he was just feeling down because of the game. He wasn't as depressed as I thought. Maybe I just jumped to conclusions when I saw him sitting alone in the park. No, I just think he's putting a mask on. I think he just, doesn't want to worry you. And it's like, he's probably convinced himself that like, hey, this matters a lot to me, but like, it's not actually a big deal. Like, I could see him, and I do that all the time.
でも ミオンは一番になるためにいろいろと努力をするからね。それは偉いと思うよ。
Yeah, but like, I feel like if the end goal is to win all the time, no matter the cost, I feel like you lose the point of the journey that it takes to get to that victory, you know? He smiled gently and stood up. He then started stroking my head. All of a sudden, I totally wasn't prepared for that. I thought this one he did this last time, but how can he stroke somebody's head so easily? I felt like I had turned into a little kid. Memories from kindergarten came to mind. Maybe my face must have been red. I felt embarrassed, but also like I was in heaven. Satoshi-kun stroked me as though petting a cat. I was blushing with my eyes closed. Felt helpless, like a girl being treated by the dentist, with her mouth open and her eyes shut. Satoshi-kun didn't seem to notice my feelings at all. He didn't seem to care. I hate him. With my eyes still closed, I waited for him to finish. He suddenly withdrew his hand.
じゃあ、僕はそろそろ帰るよ。おばさんに野球の帰りに買い物をしてくるよう頼まれてるから。
My voice faltered. I was so embarrassed.
買い物なら私も行くとこ。夕飯の買い物。
Aww, she just wants to spend more time with him.
あれ、ミオも買い物お手伝いさんが全部やってくれるって言ってなかったっけ？
Shoot, I messed up. In the main Sotozaki house, the maids do everything. Therefore, Mion had already gone grocery shopping. He's bragged to some people about that, and she's bragged to some people that I should have known better. Still, it wouldn't be too hard to find an excuse.
町に遊びに来るつもりでいたから、買い物を私が引き受けてきたわけよ。お分かり？
ミオンにしては珍しいね。普段はそういうのめんどくさいって言って嫌がりそうなのに。
そういうのを余計なお世話って言います。頭撫でないで。
She's like, never stop, don't stop. Satoshi-kun seemed to be having fun with how embarrassed I'd get when he patted me. Anyway, I managed to talk my way out of it. He didn't seem like he really cared about the details. While walking with Satoshi-kun in the shopping district in Ishiki, it suddenly occurred to me. Why had I messed up? I'd known Mion would never go grocery shopping. What an amateur's mistake. No, you wanted to spend more time with him. That's the only reason. Your instinct was like, oh, I need to go shopping too, because then I could be with you. Did I make that mistake when I was pretending to be Mion? No. I was probably speaking as Shion. I couldn't keep lying to myself. I just had to admit. It was simply because I wanted to spend as much time with Satoshi-kun as possible. It was easy to see why I was so attracted to him. I'd found something intriguing in my boring life. And I didn't have to feel tense because he thought I was somebody else. Etc., etc. His easygoing nature made him fun to be around, and his habit of petting people on the head was fun too. From these symptoms, I could tell I was embracing the feeling of love. I was just casually enjoying that feeling. It wasn't that I fell in love with him. I was just having fun. I could simply spend fun time with Satoshi-kun without having to think too much.
ブロッコリーってどれだっけ？緑だっけ？
That's a vague term.
黄色だっけ？
It's definitely not the yellow one.
サトシ君、そっちはカリフラワー。
Yeah, like, oh, you sweet summer child.
サトシ君ってひょっとしてキャベツとレタスの区別がつかないタイプ？
I can kind of understand that one, but come on.
それはひどいよ。
I don't know, dude. You just mistook like cauliflower and broccoli. That's a pretty low level.
これでも精一杯区別してるつもり。
Bro. Satoshi-kun stared at the heaps of broccoli and cauliflower. After thinking for a while, he reached out for the wrong one.
それ違う。サトシ君の買い物は見ててハラハラしますね。見てるこっちは楽しいけどさ。
Just emasculate him, sure.
参ったな。サトコと一緒の時にも迷うんだよ。ブロッコリーとカリフラワーはどっちが何色だっけってね。
Broccoli's the green one.
あんたら兄弟二人揃って面白すぎです。
Hey, I clicked early. I'm sorry. Sister told me that Satoshi was a flaky big brother and to his nagging little sister. I hadn't met Satoko, but She must have been a tough time. Must be having a tough time dealing with Satoshi-kun. He stumbles over everything he buys after all.
それは調理塩。胡椒とか混じってますから、卓上塩とは異なります。
I've never actually used cooking salt. I know it exists, but I never understood why. Like, why not just have salt and pepper and then mix them together when you want them?
そうなの？ほら、確か理科の実験で塩と胡椒を分離するのを確か。
In a scientific, do you not use salt and pepper ever? What the fetch is wrong with your house?
言い訳はいいから棚に戻す。こっちが普通のお塩ね。で、次は
This poor child. Holy crap. That's like basics.
ミオンがいてくれると買い物が楽で助かるよ。
サトシ君、頭良さそうに見えて社会生活に支障ありすぎです。
I think real Shion's kind of coming through a little bit there. She's like, you look intelligent, but what's wrong with you?
もう少しお勉強した方がいいと思います。
I mean, there's a difference though between being smart, like book smart, like being able to go to school, take your tests, get good grades and all that, and having practical, like they call street smarts. But I'd say like this is basically like functional smarts, where like you don't. I understand like getting the wrong salt because that's like it's labeled salt. I could see that being a mistake. Cauliflower and broccoli though, that's insane to me.
それはひどいな。
I think, bro, I think you need to be a little harsh. Like, come on.
あった。これかな。ひょいひょい。
Oh my gosh.
だからそれは違う。何でもカゴに放り込む前に値段と何人分かをよく確認する。
Now again, that's a bit more higher level. I totally get, but yeah, I mean, by the time I was in like, maybe not my early teens, I wasn't super good at that. But like, by the time I was in my mid-teens, I definitely had learned how to do that. My first impression of Satoshi-kun was that he was strong and reliable. But the more I spoke with him, the more surprised I was to find how clumsy and unreliable he was. You know what's funny though? Kind of goes to show how first impressions are everything, right? Because if she'd seen this side of him, she'd probably be like, "Oh my gosh, what a weird kid." But she saw his like reliable, like tough guy side first and was smitten with him, and now she's going to probably keep those feelings with her, despite seeing now his like flaws, because that like impression made such a big impact. How do I put it? It was hard to leave him alone. He was dangerous on his own. If he wasn't careful, he might start wondering, do you cross the street when the light is red? Or was it Creed? And get himself run over by a dump truck. Sweat drop.
1780円になります。スタンプカードはお持ちですか？
はい、あります。あれ、どこかな？
すみません。ちょっと見当たらないんで、今度でいいです。
I finished checking out, ignoring Satoshi-kun as he finished his wallet full of receipts.
ひどいな、ミオン。スタンプちゃんと押さないともったいないよ。
あんた、夕暮れ時のお買い物ラッシュの時にのんびりと財布を漁ってスタンプカードなんか探さない。
Yeah. If it's nighttime rush, you find that sucker. If you don't know exactly where that thing is, you find it before you go in the shopping line.
後ろに大勢待ってるんだから。私たちの後ろで海線山線のおばさま方が早くしなさいざますって目でギロギロ睨んでたの気づいてなかったんですか？
I love that line, especially because like it's like translation is so short, but like I heard like all the like little like verb like play in there that was really fun.
そういう時はレジ前に並んでる時からあらかじめ用意しておくの。
Exactly.
そうか。いいことを聞いたよ。
ちなみにここでのことだけじゃないですからね。バスに乗る時もそう。
True.
サトシ君、バスを降りようとして料金を入れる時、その時になって初めてお財布を開けて小銭をちまちまと探して後ろの人を詰まらせて待たせてるでしょ。
Which is kind of crazy too, because in reality, like you're on the bus, unless you're literally going from one stop to the literal next stop, you've got time.
みんな僕を追い抜いて勝手に料金を入れてるかな。
はあ、それはね、すっごーく周りに迷惑をかけているのです。そういうのはあらかじめ用意しておくのがマナー。
Oh my gosh, like It's so funny. I've such a like a Shion in the mentality sense. Like I would be driving crazy if I was traveling with somebody who was like that. I'd be like, I'll pay for you. Just stop what you're doing.
わかりました？
わかったよ。今日のミオンは怖いな。
Satoshi smiled as if patronizing me. Huh, I couldn't believe it. He was definitely the type who made women want to protect him. Sure, he was fine if he was as he was when he had a busybody like me around him, but couldn't stop worrying whether he was able to function in society without someone like that nearby. We got plastic bags and sorted out what we bought. Satoshi put a pack of tofu at the bottom of the bag, slapped his hand and put the milk carton in and said, "Heavy items first. You don't squish your tofu."
はい、これで OK。これで台所で買い物袋を広げて、お母さんに仰天されなくて済みますからね。
Why would you say that? Why would you say that?
ありがとう。助かったよ。僕はどうも買い物が苦手でさ。
買い物だけ？正直におっしゃい。
Gosh darn it. Please stop.
嘘冗談。
There's a little Shion coming through. I'd realized a few things while spending time with him today. He's not just bad at shopping. He's also chronically clumsy. In general, you could call him a slow thinker. Well, I would also point out that a lot of the clumsiness and slow thinking could be malnutrition. When you aren't eating properly and you're eating very little, your nutritional stuff, it has a lot of impact on your mental faculties. Like, a lot of people don't think about that, but it's very true that genuinely you can stop, like, if you aren't eating, having enough protein, if you're not getting your vitamins, it functions and it impairs the functions of your brain. Because I've gone through that. I've been in situations where I wasn't eating properly or wasn't eating enough when I've gotten sick or just had other things going on. And when that happens, you can feel your faculties slugging down. When I got really, really sick, it was a genuine thing. In fact, if you go watch my videos from probably 2021 to 2023, I was making videos consistently, but I was really ill at the time. And I think you can probably see I was very forgetful. I would struggle to remember the events of the story, at least in clarity. I could often reflect on them, but it was I would struggle with names or locations. I still kind of do that, but it was much worse. I tried my best to hide it though, but that was because at the time I know I was not getting enough nutrition in because I was struggling to take care of myself because I was so ill. Anyway, that meant when he stepped into the quarrel with the punks, he must have needed a lot of courage. He might be a simpleton, but he's not stupid. He's aware of his weaknesses. So he must have been aware of the danger in that situation. He could have chosen to walk away even though I was in trouble. But he chose to be a man and stepped in. And that was really admirable of him.
偉い偉い。サトシ君は頑張ったよ。いい子いい子。
She patting him on the head now?
なんだよ。急に人の頭を撫でないでくれよ。
サトシ君が一人でお買い物ができましたでしょう。なでなでなで。
ミオン、僕のことすっごいバカにしてるだろ。
A little.
してないよ。お家一人で帰れるかな？道わかる？
Stop it!
やっぱりバカにしてる。
Yes, congratulations. You've noticed the obvious. Satoshi-kun's sulky face flushed red. He's just too cute. At that point, I caught a glimpse of the bulletin board from the corner of my eye. Piano lessons, call XX. Abacus class. Wow. Did they actually have abacus classes in the 80s? That's insane. I almost would want to go just to be because I know theoretically how they work, but I've seen how fast people can go with it too. Junior baseball team members wanted. It was a posting for the team Satoshi belonged to. It showed the day, time, and place of their next practice. By then, I knew just how flaky he was. I figured he must be just the same when playing baseball. Satoshi-kun realized I was reading the poster. He looked uncomfortable and walked away.
今、サトシ君は思った。頼むからミオン、野球やってるとこまで来ないでくれよ。図星？
He's like, oh crap.
もう
How tragic would it be if he actually has a crush on Mion? And then you have Shion having a crush on him, but Mion doesn't see him like that at all? God, that could get real rough. Because, like, yeah, they could swap places fine, but, like, if that happens, that's going to get messy. And the mixed signals he's going to get is going to be so painful.
そのムーってのはつまり何さ、図星ってことでしょ。
Satoshi-kun became quiet after mumbling something. It seemed like he couldn't say anything back since I had been right on the money. Satoshi-kun, you're just too cute. I don't think going silent is a good way to dodge the issue. Well, this might be just have been the way innocent people like him would react to a situation like that.
じゃあね、サトシ君。暗くなりかけてるから気をつけて帰ってね。
ミオンは一緒に帰らないのかい、ひなみざわ。
あ、私はもうちょっと寄るとこありますんで、気にしないで先に帰ってください。
僕の買い物を手伝ってもらったんだから、今度は僕が手伝う。
Ah, good boy. She's like, crap.
大丈夫大丈夫。っていうか、サトシ君が何を手伝うおつもりで？人の手伝いする前に自分が手伝われなくて買い物できるようになっといてくださいな。
See, the angle I would be really like, hey, you've got groceries, you need to get them home. Either like there's either people waiting to eat them, or you need to get them into like, you know, storage. Like, I've got a place I'm going, they got like a refrigerator I could use while I'm talking to my family, kind of thing.
今日のミオンはひときわ意地悪かな。
He seemed to have some pride at least. He looked a bit upset because he was teased by a girl, but in contrast, I felt very satisfied. As a result, I forgot to keep my guard up.
あ、でも手伝ってくれてありがとうね。本当に助かったから。
Aww. Up, down, head pats, immediate disarm. Cue. While wearing a bright smile, Satoshi-kun suddenly started stroking my head again. I know he's teasing me, but I can't reject him. He kept doing it only because he realized I won't resist. Oh.
じゃあね、ミオン。暗くならないうちに用事を済ませてね。また明日、学校で。
Gosh, she's probably like, I wish I could.
あ、うん。また明日、学校でね。
In fact, I wouldn't see him tomorrow at all. I felt awkward, but I had to settle for that. I had to thank Sis for letting me use her name. After I separated from him, I found myself giddy and wishing to see him again as soon as possible. Fetch V, she's gone hard. She is so into him, like it's to an obsessive degree. I wanted to know more about him. I couldn't wait for my next chance to see him. Actually, maybe there was something I could do. Just like when I obtained my freedom from St. Lucia's, I could choose how to live my life. Whatever, it wasn't that complicated. I just wanted to tease him more. I wanted him to stroke my head more. And, whatever. I already knew that schedule from his baseball team. It's very sweet seeing someone who just genuinely has like a genuine crush and is like exulting in it. 'Cause that's one thing about the Higarashi's like chapters is it always kind of lends this idea that there might be something like going on or potentially could go on between like Keiichi and Rena, Keiichi and Mion, Keiichi and Satoko, but like you never actually saw anything from it, even if there's like hints that there could be something there, because Keiichi's a dense main character. It's almost refreshing to have a main character who knows exactly how she's feeling, right? Now, what she can do with that information, fairly limited, but she at least knows and acknowledges what she's thinking and feeling, which is an upgrade. It's really nice. All right. I'm glad I stuck through and just got to this end of this chapter. So, Crumpled Diary, we'll read this one and then we'll be done. Oh, man. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. I was on such a happy mood. I can already tell this is going to be a crappy place to end. My aunt finally stopped her hysterical screaming. Today was just like any other day. I can't remember what set her off. Whatever it was, she changed subjects constantly anyway. It didn't matter. She went on past midnight again. The urge to sleep was pounding the back of my head. Once Satoko had been able to relax, she fell down on the spot and started sleeping, still clinging to my sleeve. I carried Satoko to the bedroom and laid out our futons.
ほら、サトコ。布団が敷けたよ。布団に入りな。
Satoko crawled in like a worm. She stopped moving once she was inside. I wished I could go to bed too. But I couldn't. My aunt asked me to do some chores. I had to get toothpaste after school tomorrow. I had to write it down somewhere. I had to make her ice for lunch tomorrow. I set the timer. Right. I also had to repile. Reptile? What am I saying? I had to repile the towels in the bathroom. I had to put a lizard in the bathroom. It was incredibly important to my aunt. That was the reason for today's scolding. My aunt would get mad if everything isn't done the way she wants. Oh, and there was something else. I was working at the grocery store the next day. They wanted me to bring an apron. Did we even have an apron in this house? I'd never seen one. My aunt will be sleeping when I got to school, so I won't have time to ask her. What should I do? Since Mion helped me get that job, I didn't want to screw it up. In any case, why don't I ask Mion about it at school? She might lend me one. Was there anything else? I was envious of Satoko because she got to go to bed. That was pathetic that I felt that way. So, he talks about how Mion helps him get a job at the grocery store, probably in Okonomiya, right? That's probably Shion, because she sees it as a win-win, where he needs something like a job, probably because his aunt's demanding it. But if she gets to see him more because he's working at that shop, win-win. I'm guessing these diary entries, like, obviously, like, his life is already kind of like this, but I think these are diary days that are leading up to the actual, like, event. Probably in the future, because it didn't seem like he had a job at the grocery store at this time. This music's really different. Huh. I don't know if I just didn't notice this before, but okay. We're going to end things here. Thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you so much for joining me on the channel and for being here with me. I hope that this has been a good episode, and I hope you're looking forward to the episodes coming out this week. I got a lot of work I'm going to try and put in, try and find the time to record, and trying to make sure everything comes together, despite, like, personal things going on in my life. It's, like, not bad things, obviously. It's good things, but it's taking energy and time, and I'm working out the kinks, so thank you for your patience, and hopefully I can stay on schedule this week, but it'll get harder in the weeks to come. So this is like, I should be fine this week. Because if I'm not fine, then that bodes very poorly for the future, but we'll figure it out. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for being a part of the channel. And until the next video, watching me, I've seen me in next. I'll see you there.